6 hours into marriage, and already betrayal. But her game ends now.
The champagne bubbles had barely settled in my stomach when my wife of 6 hours leaned over in our honeymoon suite bed and whispered the words that would change everything. I told my boyfriend he could swing by tomorrow. I'm Elliot Granger, and I've always prided myself on being quick with a comeback. 20 years running a small IT security firm teaches you to think fast when systems crash. But lying there in that overpriced Boston hotel room, silk sheets twisted around my legs, I felt my brain short-circuit like a fried motherboard. "You're what now?" I managed, turning to look at Sabrina's perfectly sculpted face in the dim light filtering through expensive curtains. She stretched like a satisfied cat, her blonde hair cascading over the pillow. "Chase, from the gym?" He wanted to congratulate us properly. She said it so casually, like she was discussing tomorrow's weather forecast. The room suddenly felt smaller. The air conditioning hummed louder. Every detail became crystal clear, the way she avoided my eyes, the slight smirk playing at the corners of her mouth, the fact that she'd kept her phone face down on the nightstand all evening. "Sabrina," my voice came out steadier than I felt. "We literally just got married. 6 hours ago, I can still smell the wedding cake on your breath." She finally looked at me then, and I saw something I'd never noticed before in her green eyes. Calculation. Cold, careful calculation. "Oh, Eli, don't be so dramatic. It's not like that anymore. We're married now. Things are different." "Different. Right." I sat up, running my hands through my hair. Outside our window, Boston's skyline glittered with 1,000 lights, each one probably shining on someone having a better wedding night than mine. "How long?" I asked. "How long what?" "Don't play games, Sabrina. How long have you been seeing him?" She sighed, like I was being unreasonably difficult. "Does it matter? We're committed now. This is just fun." Fun. My wife of 6 hours was calling her affair fun. I got up and walked to the window, my bare feet silent on the plush carpet. 20 floors below, late-night traffic moved through the streets like currents in a living city, pulsing with quiet energy. Normal people living normal lives where their wives didn't casually mention boyfriends on their wedding night. "Eli, you're being ridiculous. Come back to bed." Instead, I picked up the hotel phone and dialed the concierge. "Yes, Mr. Granger, how can I help you?" "I need you to pack my wife's belongings and have them moved to the lobby. She'll be checking out early." Sabrina shot upright in bed. "Eli, what are you doing?" I covered the phone's mouthpiece. Something I should have done months ago. 20 minutes later, I watched from our window as a bellhop loaded Sabrina's designer luggage into a taxi. She'd screamed, she'd cried, she'd threatened to call her lawyer. But she'd left. I'd tucked a note into her purse before the bellhop took it down. "Trips canceled. So is your secret." The room felt bigger with her gone. Cleaner somehow. I poured myself a scotch from the minibar and sat in the leather chair by the window. My phone buzzed with the first of what would be dozens of angry texts from Sabrina, but I didn't read them. Instead, I opened my laptop and did what I do best. I started digging. Sabrina thought she was clever, but she'd married an IT security specialist. Someone who'd spent 2 decades learning how people hide things in the digital age, and, more importantly, how to find what they're hiding. Her cloud storage was laughably easy to access. We shared the same account for convenience. The password to her personal email was our wedding date, which felt like a particularly bitter irony now. What I found made my wedding night scotch taste like poison. Hundreds of messages. Photos that made me want to throw my laptop through the window. Videos that confirmed every suspicion I'd buried under the excitement of marriage and the hope that maybe, just maybe, I'd finally gotten the girl. But the worst part wasn't the explicit content. It was the dates. The affair had started 3 months before our engagement. It had continued through our engagement party, through wedding planning, through the rehearsal dinner. She'd been texting Chase during our wedding ceremony. During our first dance, she'd been planning their next meeting. I leaned back in the chair and laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because the alternative was putting my fist through the wall. Sabrina Granger, my wife of 6 hours and counting, had just made the biggest mistake of her life. She'd underestimated the quiet guy from the wrong side of Boston, the guy who'd worked his way up from bouncer to business owner. The guy who understood that in the digital age, information was the most powerful tool you could wield. I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it Project Guest List. Time to start planning a party. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel alone and drove back to our house in Millbrook. The suburban paradise Sabrina had insisted we buy because it had the right kind of neighbors. The kind with money and opinions, where reputation mattered more than reality. Perfect for what I had in mind. I spent the weekend doing digital archaeology, excavating the ruins of my marriage with the methodical precision that had built my business. Every deleted text recovered, every hidden photo folder explored, every social media interaction analyzed. The picture that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. Chase Banner wasn't just Sabrina's boyfriend. He was her project, a wannabe fitness influencer with abbeys that had their own Instagram account and the intellectual depth of a puddle. She'd been bankrolling his career, paying for his supplements, his photo shoots, even his rent, with my money. But Chase was just the star of the show. The supporting cast was what really interested me. Brianna Walsh, Sabrina's best friend since college, wasn't just aware of the affair. She was orchestrating it. Corporate lawyer by day, relationship saboteur by night. Her messages to Sabrina read like a masterclass in manipulation. Keep Eli happy until the house is in both names. Make sure you get the life insurance policies updated first. Chase is getting impatient, but the timing has to be perfect. Kylie Martinez from Sabrina's PR firm played the role of innocent bystander, but her phone was always ready to record drama for social media. She'd been documenting Sabrina's double life like a reality show producer, complete with behind-the-scenes commentary. Then there was Chase's own digital footprint, a goldmine of narcissism and stupidity. The man documented everything. Every workout, every meal, every thought that drifted through his empty head, including, helpfully, every encounter with my wife. I printed everything, organized it in color-coded folders like evidence for a trial. Because, in a way, that's exactly what this was. Monday morning, I went back to work like nothing had happened. My office is a converted warehouse in Cambridge, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. Very different from the glass towers where Sabrina worked, but it suited me. Honest materials for honest work. My employee, Tariq Hassan, looked up from his computer when I walked in. Kid's a genius with code, terrible with people, which made him perfect for this business. How was the honeymoon, boss? You look like heck. Honeymoon's postponed indefinitely. I poured coffee from the machine that cost more than most people's cars. I need you to set up some monitoring software. What kind of monitoring? The kind that tracks digital footprints, social media activity, location data, communication patterns. All perfectly legal, all above board. Tariq's fingers were already flying over his keyboard. Who are we tracking? I handed him a list of names. Consider it a wedding gift to myself. While Tariq worked his magic, I drove to Murphy's Pub, the local watering hole where neighborhood gossip flowed as freely as the beer. The owner, Rick Murphy, had been my friend since high school. If you wanted to know what was happening in Millbrook, Rick was your man. Eli, heard you tied the knot this weekend. Where's the missus? I slid onto a bar stool and ordered a beer. Funny story about that, Rick. I gave him the sanitized version. Wife cheating, marriage over, divorce pending. Rick listened with the practiced ear of a bartender who'd heard every sob story in the book. Sorry, man, that's rough. He wiped down a glass, thinking. You know, I always wondered about Sabrina. She'd come in here sometimes with that trainer guy from the gym. Seemed awfully friendly for a married woman. Chase Banner? Yeah, that's him. Real piece of work. Tips like he's doing you a favor, talks to the waitresses like they should be grateful for his attention. I filed that information away. What else do you know about him? Not much. Works at that fancy gym on Elm Street, drives a BMW he can't afford, always talking about his brand like he's some kind of celebrity. Rick leaned closer. But here's the thing. Word is he's been bragging about bagging a rich housewife, showing off pictures on his phone to anyone who'll look. The beer in my hand suddenly tasted bitter. Pictures? Yeah. Real classy stuff, if you know what I mean. I finished my beer and left a 20 on the bar. Thanks, Rick, I owe you one. You don't owe me anything, man. Just take care of yourself. If only he knew what taking care of myself was going to involve. That evening, I was reviewing my digital evidence when the front door opened. Sabrina walked in like she still lived there, designer heels clicking on the hardwood floors. We need to talk, she announced, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. I looked up from my laptop. I think we covered everything at the hotel. She'd changed clothes since our wedding night, trading the silk nightgown for a power suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. War paint applied with surgical precision. This was Sabrina in full corporate mode, ready to negotiate. You're being childish, Eli, so I have a friend. So what? Lots of married couples have arrangements. Arrangements? I closed the laptop and gave her my full attention. Is that what we're calling it? We're adults. We can work this out like adults. I stood up and walked to the kitchen island, putting some distance between us. You're right, we are adults. Adult enough to know that adults don't get married while they're already in relationships with other people. It's not a relationship, it's just physical. Just physical. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to one of Chase's Instagram posts from 2 weeks ago. A photo of an expensive watch with the caption, "Thanks to my queen for the early wedding gift. Some women know how to treat a king." Sabrina's face went pale. Just physical, huh? You bought him a Rolex, Sabrina, with our money, our joint account that you opened 2 months ago for wedding expenses. She recovered quickly. I had to give her that. You're tracking my purchases now? That's controlling behavior, Eli. That's borderline manipulative. Manipulative? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm not the one who spent our honeymoon fund on jewelry for my side piece. Don't call him that. What should I call him? Your boyfriend? Your investment? Your exit strategy? She crossed her arms, defensive. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. The wedding planning, the stress at work, your constant neediness. My neediness. I nodded slowly. Right. My fault for expecting my fiancé to actually want to marry me. I do want to be married to you. I want this house, this life. Chase is he's just for fun. And there it was. The truth, finally. She wanted the life I could provide. The stability, the respectability. Chase was her entertainment. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm and controlled. You're going to pack your things and move out. We're getting divorced. You can have your fun with Chase full-time now. You can't just throw me out. This is my house, too. Actually, it's not. The deed is in my name only. My credit, my down payment, my mortgage. You insisted we wait until after the wedding to add your name, remember? For tax purposes? The color drained from her face completely now. You can stay at Brianna's. I'm sure she'll love hearing all about how her brilliant plan worked out. Sabrina's eyes narrowed. What do you know about Brianna? I know she's been coaching you through this whole thing. I know she thinks I'm a pushover who'll roll over and give you half of everything. I know she's wrong. For the first time since I'd known her, Sabrina looked genuinely frightened. Eli, please, we can work this out. I'll end things with Chase. We can go to counseling. Too late for that. I walked to the front door and held it open. Your bags are already packed. They're in the garage. You went through my things? I organized your things. There's a difference. She stood there for a long moment, probably calculating her next move. Then she walked to the garage, her heels echoing in the empty space. I watched her load her designer luggage into her car, the same luggage that had been packed for our canceled honeymoon. When she was done, she turned back to me. This isn't over, Eli. No, I agreed. It's not. She drove away and I closed the garage door. Then I went back to my laptop and opened Project Guest List. Time to send out the invitations. Tuesday morning, I decided to pay Chase Banner a visit at his workplace. Elite Fitness on Elm Street was the kind of gym where people went to be seen working out, all chrome and mirrors and overpriced smoothies. I'd never been a member, but I knew the type. I'd worked as a bouncer at clubs just like this back in my 20s, before I got into IT. Rich people playing at being tough, buying expensive equipment to make up for their lack of actual grit. Chase was easy to spot. He was in the free weights section, performing bicep curls in front of the mirror wall while a middle-aged woman in designer workout clothes watched adoringly. His client, presumably, though from the way she was staring, she was paying for more than fitness advice. I bought a day pass from the bored teenager at the front desk and changed into workout clothes I'd brought from home. Nothing fancy, just gray shorts and a black t-shirt that had seen better days. I looked exactly like what I was, a working-class guy who stayed in shape through actual work, not Instagram photo shoots. I started with the treadmill, positioning myself where I could observe Chase's routine. He moved from client to client like a politician working a room, all white teeth and rehearsed charm. Every few minutes, he'd check his phone, probably looking for messages from Sabrina. After 20 minutes, I made my move. Chase was alone, taking selfies between sets. Perfect. Excuse me, I said, approaching with a friendly smile. You're Chase Banner, right? The Instagram guy? He looked up, immediately shifting into his public persona. That's me. You follow my content? My wife does. She's always talking about your workout tips. Cool, man. What's her handle? I try to interact with all my followers. Sabrina Granger? Maybe you know her? The change in his expression was subtle but unmistakable. A flicker of recognition, followed by calculation. He was trying to figure out how much I knew. Oh yeah, Sabrina. Great lady. Really dedicated to her fitness journey. That's one way to put it. I picked up a pair of dumbbells from the rack. Mind if I work in? I'm Eli, by the way. Sabrina's husband. Now his face went completely blank. Fight or flight response kicking in. Husband? He tried to laugh it off. She never mentioned being married. Funny thing about that. We just had our wedding this past weekend. Beautiful ceremony. Shame you couldn't make it. I started my set, keeping my movements controlled and deliberate. Chase stood there like a deer in headlights. Listen, man, I don't know what you think you know, but I know exactly what I know. I finished my reps and set the weights down carefully. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Chase looked around the gym, probably hoping for backup or an escape route. But his next client wasn't due for another hour, and the other trainers were busy with their own sessions. Look, if Sabrina told you something... Sabrina didn't tell me anything. She didn't have to. I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot of one of his Instagram stories from the previous week. A photo of an expensive dinner with the caption, "Date night with my queen, #blessed, living my best life." The timestamp showed it was posted during our wedding rehearsal dinner. Chase's face went red. You can't prove anything with that. You're right. That's just circumstantial. I swiped to the next screenshot. But this is a little more concrete. It was a photo Chase had sent to Sabrina the morning of our wedding. I won't describe it in detail, but let's just say it left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. How did you... I'm in IT security, Chase. Digital privacy is kind of my thing. I put the phone away. Now, we can handle this like gentlemen, or we can handle it like the internet handles everything else. Your choice. He tried to puff up his chest, probably remembering that he was surrounded by his own territory, his own equipment. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you a chance to walk away clean, end things with my wife, delete her number, pretend you never met her. And if I don't, I smiled, then everyone gets to see just how blessed you really are. Chase looked around the gym again, then back at me. He was bigger than me, probably stronger in the gym sense. But there's a difference between gym strong and street strong, and something in my eyes must have told him which one I was. Fine, he said finally. Whatever, she's not worth the drama anyway. Glad we understand each other. I was turning to leave when Chase made his mistake. Maybe it was wounded pride, maybe it was stupidity, but he couldn't resist getting the last word. You know she was never really into you, right? She told me all about it, how boring you are, how she had to fake everything just to get through. I turned around and walked back to him, close enough that he had to look up to meet my eyes. Chase, I said quietly, you just made this personal. I didn't touch him, didn't raise my voice, didn't make any threats that could be construed as assault. But 20 years of dealing with drunk idiots in nightclubs had taught me how to project menace without crossing legal lines. Chase took a step back. Enjoy the rest of your workout, I said, and walked away. But I wasn't done with Chase Banner, not by a long shot. That afternoon, I put Tariq to work on a special project. Chase's digital footprint was even more extensive than Sabrina's, and a lot less secure. The man had linked every account to every other account, used the same password for everything, and apparently never heard of privacy settings. Within 2 hours, we had access to his entire digital life. What we found was a goldmine of stupidity and narcissism. Chase wasn't just cheating with Sabrina. He was running a whole stable of clients who were paying him for more than fitness advice. Married women, mostly, looking for excitement and willing to pay for the privilege. He'd been documenting everything. Photos, videos, even a spreadsheet tracking who paid what for which services. The man had turned adultery into a business model and kept detailed records like he was planning to file taxes on it. This guy's an idiot, Tariq said, scrolling through Chase's files. He's got enough evidence here to end a dozen marriages. That's the point, I said. He thinks he's untouchable because his victims can't expose him without exposing themselves. But you can. I can. I spent the evening crafting my response. Not a direct attack, that would be too crude, too obvious. Something more elegant, more devastating. Chase Banner was about to learn that when you make things personal with the wrong person, the consequences can be very, very public. Wednesday evening, I attended the monthly Millbrook Neighborhood Association meeting. Normally, I avoided these gatherings like the plague. An hour of listening to people complain about property taxes and dog waste wasn't my idea of entertainment. But tonight, I had business to conduct. The meeting was held in the community center, a converted colonial house that the town had turned into a monument to suburban bureaucracy. About 30 residents showed up, the usual mix of retirees with too much time and young professionals trying to protect their property values. Mrs. Eleanor Fenway held court in the front row, as always, 70-something, sharp as a tack, and the unofficial mayor of neighborhood gossip. If you wanted information to spread through Millbrook, you told Eleanor. If you wanted it to spread fast, you told Eleanor something juicy. I took a seat in the back and waited for my moment. The official business dragged on for 40 minutes. Debates about snow removal contracts and complaints about the teenagers who gathered at the playground after dark. Finally, during the informal social period afterward, I approached Eleanor with a cup of coffee and my most concerned expression. "Mrs. Fenway, I was hoping I could ask your advice about something." She looked up at me with bright, curious eyes. Eleanor loved being consulted, especially by the younger residents who usually ignored her. "Of course, dear, what's troubling you?" "It's about Sabrina and me. We're having some difficulties." I didn't have to say more. Eleanor's expression shifted to one of sympathetic interest. This was exactly the kind of drama she lived for. "I'm so sorry to hear that. You seemed like such a happy couple at the block party last month." "That's what I thought too. But it turns out Sabrina has been, well, I don't want to speak ill of her, but she's been seeing someone else." Eleanor's eyes widened. "No, really?" "I'm afraid so. A personal trainer named Chase Banner. From what I can tell, it's been going on for months." "Oh, you poor thing!" Eleanor reached out and patted my arm. "And you just got married." "Last weekend, actually. I found out on our wedding night." Eleanor gasped. "On your wedding night? Oh, that's just awful." I nodded sadly. "The worst part is, I think some of our neighbors might have seen them together. I keep wondering if everyone knew except me." "Well, I certainly didn't know," Eleanor said quickly. "Though now that you mention it, I did notice a strange car in your driveway a few times when you were at work, a blue BMW. That would be his car. The nerve! Carrying on right under your nose like that?" Eleanor was getting worked up now, her voice rising. "And in this neighborhood? We have standards. I just don't know what to do. My lawyer says the divorce will be straightforward since we have a prenup, but the embarrassment—" "Oh, don't you worry about that," Eleanor said firmly. "Anyone with half a brain will see that you're the victim here. That woman should be ashamed of herself." I thanked Eleanor for her support and made my way around the room, having similar conversations with 3 other neighborhood gossips. By morning, half of Millbrook would know that Sabrina Granger was a cheating wife who'd betrayed her husband on their wedding night. But that was just the opening move. Thursday morning, I implemented phase 2 of my plan. I'd spent the previous evening creating a series of anonymous social media accounts, each with carefully crafted backstories and realistic posting histories. Not to harass anyone. That would be illegal and traceable. Just to share information that was already publicly available. Chase Banner's Instagram account was public, after all. So were his workout videos, his motivational posts, and his not-so-subtle hints about his queen who knew how to treat a king. Anyone could see them. Anyone could also cross-reference the timestamps on his posts with public records showing when marriage licenses were filed in Suffolk County. Anyone could notice that Chase's posts about expensive gifts and romantic dinners coincided exactly with the week leading up to Eli and Sabrina Granger's wedding. Anyone could put 2 and 2 together. I didn't post anything directly. I just shared Chase's own content with helpful context. A screenshot of his date night post with a comment, "Isn't this the same night as the Granger wedding rehearsal dinner? Weird timing." A photo of the Rolex he'd bragged about receiving, shared to a local Facebook group with the observation, "Must be nice to have sugar mama money." Chase's workout videos, shared to fitness forums with questions about his professional ethics and client boundaries. Nothing libelous. Nothing that could be traced back to me, just Chase's own words and images presented in their proper context. The response was swift and brutal. Chase's Instagram comment section exploded with questions and accusations. His female clients started canceling sessions. The gym's corporate office received complaints about their trainer's unprofessional conduct. By Friday afternoon, Chase Banner's carefully constructed influencer brand was in ruins. But I wasn't done with him yet. That evening, I received an angry phone call from Sabrina. What the heck did you do? She screamed, before I could even say hello. Good evening to you too, Sabrina. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Don't play games with me. Chase lost 3 clients today. Someone's been spreading rumors about us online. Rumors? I thought you said it was just physical, nothing serious. You know what I mean. Someone's been posting things, sharing his photos, making it look like what? Like he's a personal trainer who sleeps with married clients for money? Because that's exactly what he is. There was silence on the other end of the line. Sabrina? You still there? This is harassment, Eli. I could sue you. For what? I haven't posted anything. I haven't said anything that isn't true. If Chase is embarrassed by his own behavior, maybe he should reconsider his behavior. You're destroying his career. His career was built on destroying marriages. Seems like poetic justice to me. I'm not going to let you ruin him. You don't have a choice. See, the thing about social media is that once something goes viral, it takes on a life of its own. People share things, comment on things, add their own observations. It's like a wildfire. You can't control where it spreads. You bastard. I'm the bastard? I'm not the one who was cheating on my spouse with a wannabe Instagram model who charges by the hour. The line went quiet again. Oh, you didn't know about the others? I continued. Chase has quite the client list, Sabrina. You weren't special. You were just another revenue stream. You're lying. Am I? Ask him about Jennifer Walsh from Beacon Hill or Patricia Morrison from Back Bay or any of the dozen other married women who've been funding his lifestyle. I could hear her breathing on the other end, probably trying to process what I just told her. How do you know about them? Same way I knew about you. Chase isn't as smart as he thinks he is. Neither are you. She hung up on me. I poured myself a scotch and opened my laptop. Time to check on how the internet was handling my little information campaign. The results exceeded my expectations. Chase's Instagram followers were dropping by the hundreds. His workout videos were being shared on cringe forums. Someone had created a meme using one of his shirtless photos with the caption, "When you're a personal trainer, but your real job is homewrecker." The Millbrook Neighborhood Facebook group was buzzing with gossip about the Granger marriage. Eleanor Fenway was leading the charge, expressing outrage on my behalf and calling for a boycott of elite fitness. Chase Banner was becoming a cautionary tale about the dangers of social media oversharing, and I was just getting started. Saturday morning, I received a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at Murphy's at 8 p.m. Come alone. Chase. I smiled and typed back, see you there. Time for the next phase of my plan. Murphy's Pub on Saturday night was exactly what you'd expect from a neighborhood bar in suburban Boston. Dim lighting, worn leather booths, and the kind of crowd that minded their own business as long as you minded yours. Perfect for the conversation I was about to have. Chase was already there when I arrived, hunched over a beer in the corner booth farthest from the bar. He looked like heck unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. The Instagram perfect facade was cracking. I bought a beer from Rick, who gave me a subtle nod and walked over to Chase's table. You look terrible, I said, sliding into the booth across from him. Thanks to you. His voice was hoarse, probably from fielding angry phone calls all day. Do you have any idea what you've done to my life? I haven't done anything to your life. You did it to yourself. I just helped people connect the dots. Chase leaned forward, his hands clenched into fists on the table. You ruined everything. My business, my reputation, my relationship with Sabrina. Your relationship with my wife, you mean? She's divorcing you? Actually, I'm divorcing her. There's a difference. Chase stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. You're crazy. You know that? You're completely insane. I'm practical. There's a difference there, too. I took a sip of my beer and studied Chase's face. Up close, without the Instagram filters and professional lighting, he looked ordinary. Just another guy in his 30s trying to hold on to his 20s, trading on his looks because he had nothing else to offer. Here's what's going to happen, Chase said, trying to sound threatening. You're going to call off your little internet campaign. You're going to stop spreading lies about me. And you're going to stay away from Sabrina. Or what? Or I'll make you regret it. I laughed. Chase, let me explain something to you. I used to work as a bouncer at clubs in Southie. Real clubs, not the sanitized tourist traps downtown. I've been threatened by guys who would use you as a toothpick. You don't scare me. This isn't about being scared. This is about what's right. What's right? I set my beer down carefully. You want to talk about what's right? What's right is not sleeping with other men's wives. What's right is not taking money from married women in exchange for closeness. What's right is not bragging about it on social media like you're some kind of king. I never took money for closeness. No? What do you call the Rolex? The rent payments, the expensive dinners, the gym membership fees, the supplements? Chase's face went red. Those were gifts. Sabrina wanted to help me with my career. Your career is what? A gigolo? I'm a fitness influencer. You're a prostitute with a smartphone. Chase started to stand up, but I held up a hand. Sit down, Chase. You don't want to make a scene here. He looked around the bar, probably noticing for the first time that several of the other patrons were watching our conversation with interest. This was Millbrook, after all. Everyone knew everyone else's business. Chase sat back down. Good choice. I leaned back in the booth, completely relaxed. Now let's talk about your options. I don't have to listen to this. Yes, you do, because right now, you're just a local embarrassment, a cautionary tale about social media oversharing. But if you don't listen to what I'm about to tell you, you're going to become something much worse. Chase's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and opened a folder I'd labeled insurance policy. Remember how I told you that you documented everything, your whole business model? Well, it turns out that some of your clients are married to some very important people. Judges, city councilmen, police commissioners, men who wouldn't appreciate learning that their wives have been paying you for services that aren't covered by most gym memberships. Chase's face went pale. Now, I'm not interested in destroying innocent families, but if you force my hand, if you keep pursuing my wife, if you try to cause problems for me, well, let's just say that your client list might become public knowledge. You can't do that. It's blackmail. It's not blackmail if I'm not asking for anything in return. It's just a public service announcement about the importance of digital privacy. Chase stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to figure out if I was bluffing. I wasn't. What do you want? He asked finally. I want you to disappear, leave town, find a new gym, a new career, a new life, somewhere far away from Boston and my wife. I can't just leave. I have clients, responsibilities. You had clients, past tense, and your only responsibility now is to yourself and your future, which, if you stay here, is going to be very unpleasant. Chase finished his beer and set the glass down with shaking hands. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. You just don't realize it yet. He stood up and walked toward the door, then turned back. Sabrina loves me, you know, not you. She never loved you. Maybe not, but she's still my wife, and you're still nobody. Chase left without another word. I finished my beer and walked up to the bar where Rick was pretending not to have been listening to every word. That looked intense, he said. Just clearing the air. He's not going to cause you any more trouble. I don't think so, but if he does, I'll handle it. Rick nodded and poured me another beer. On the house, for the entertainment. I was halfway through my second beer when my phone buzzed with a text from Sabrina. Chase told me what you said to him. We need to talk. I typed back, nothing to talk about. Enjoy your new life. She responded immediately. I'm coming over. Don't. You're not welcome here anymore? It's still my house, too. No, it's not. Check the deed. My phone rang. Sabrina's number. I answered on the fourth ring. Eli, please. We need to work this out. There's nothing to work out. You made your choice. Live with it. I made a mistake. I can fix this. Some mistakes can't be fixed, Sabrina. Some choices have permanent consequences. Don't do this. Don't throw away everything we built together. I'm not throwing it away. You already did that. There was a long pause. I'll fight you on the divorce. I'll make it as ugly and expensive as possible. Go ahead. I have documentation of everything. Your affair, your spending, your plans with Brianna. You'll lose, and you'll lose publicly. You bastard. So you keep saying. But I'm not the one who cheated. She hung up. I finished my beer and drove home to my empty house. Tomorrow, I would start the final phase of my plan. It was time to deal with Sabrina's support network. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Sabrina and a text from an unknown number. This is Brianna Walsh. We need to meet. Today. Perfect. The puppet master wanted to have a conversation. I texted back, Murphy's Pub, noon. Brianna Walsh arrived at Murphy's exactly on time, dressed in what I'd come to recognize as the uniform of successful Boston women, expensive suit, designer handbag, armor disguised as fashion. She looked around the bar with barely concealed disdain before spotting me in the same corner booth where I'd met with Chase. "Mr. Granger." She slid into the booth across from me without being invited. "We have a problem?" "Do we?" I wasn't aware we had any kind of relationship that could generate problems. Brianna opened her briefcase and pulled out a legal pad covered in notes. "You've been harassing my client." "Your client? I thought Sabrina was your friend." "Sabrina is both my friend and, as of yesterday, my client. And what you've been doing to her and Mr. Banner constitutes harassment, cyberbullying, and possibly stalking." I laughed. "Cyberbullying? What are you, 12 years old?" "This isn't a joke, Mr. Granger. Your behavior has crossed several legal lines." "Has it? Which lines specifically?" Brianna consulted her notes. "You've been spreading false information about Mr. Banner on social media platforms." "I haven't posted anything false. Everything I've shared is either Chase's own content or publicly verifiable information." "You've been using fake accounts to harass them." "I've been sharing publicly available information using anonymous accounts. That's not illegal." "You threatened Mr. Banner." "I had a conversation with him, at his request, in a public place, with witnesses." Brianna's confident expression was starting to crack. She'd come here expecting to intimidate a heartbroken husband, not debate legal strategy with someone who'd done his homework. "Look," she said, switching tactics. "I understand you're hurt. Divorce is always painful. But what you're doing isn't helping anyone." "It's helping me feel better." "Sabrina wants to reconcile. She's willing to end her relationship with Mr. Banner, attend counseling, whatever it takes to save your marriage." Too little, too late. She made a mistake. She made dozens of mistakes, for months, with your help. Brianna's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone and opened the folder containing Brianna's text messages to Sabrina. Messages I'd recovered from Sabrina's cloud backup. "Keep Eli happy until the house is in both names," I read aloud. "Make sure you get the life insurance policies updated first. Chase is getting impatient, but the timing has to be perfect." Brianna's face went white. Should I keep reading? There are dozens more, all with your legal advice on how to maximize Sabrina's divorce settlement while minimizing her exposure. Those messages are privileged. Are they? You weren't her lawyer when you sent them. You were just her friend helping her plan to defraud her husband. That's exactly what it was. And now you want to represent her in the divorce? That's an interesting ethical position for a member of the Massachusetts bar. Brianna closed her legal pad and put it back in her briefcase. "What do you want?" "I want Sabrina to sign the divorce papers without a fight. I want her to take her personal belongings and leave. I want both of you to stay out of my life. And if she agrees to that, then your little coaching sessions stay between us. And if she doesn't, then the Massachusetts Bar Association gets an anonymous tip about a lawyer who helped plan a fraudulent marriage, along with documentation." Brianna stood up. "You're making a mistake, Mr. Granger. Sabrina isn't going to just disappear. She has rights. She has the rights I give her, nothing more. We'll see about that." After Brianna left, I ordered lunch and called Tariq. "How's our monitoring project going?" "Like watching a train wreck in slow motion," Tariq said. "Banner's Instagram is down to about half his followers. The gym fired him yesterday. And your wife's been calling him every hour, but he's not answering." "What about the others?" "Walsh has been making a lot of calls to lawyers. Martinez has been trying to scrub her social media accounts. I think they're starting to panic." "Good. Let me know if anything changes." I spent the rest of Sunday preparing for the final phase of my plan. If Sabrina wanted to fight, I was ready to give her a war. Monday morning, I received a call from a lawyer I'd never heard of. "Mr. Granger, this is David Chen from Chen, Walsh & Associates. I represent Sabrina Granger in your divorce proceedings. Congratulations. I'm calling to discuss a settlement. My client is prepared to be reasonable. Your client can be as reasonable as she wants. The settlement terms are non-negotiable. She gets her personal belongings and whatever she brought into the marriage. Everything else stays with me." "Mr. Granger, that's not how Massachusetts divorce law works. It is when there's a prenup and documented infidelity." There was a pause. "We'd like to review that documentation." "I'm sure you would. Discovery should be fun. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting. No meetings, no negotiations. Sign the papers or don't. Your choice." I hung up and immediately called my own lawyer, Janet Morrison. I'd hired her specifically because she had a reputation for being ruthless in divorce cases. "They're going to fight," I told her. "Let them. We have enough evidence to bury them. The prenup alone is ironclad, and the infidelity documentation makes it even stronger. What about the harassment claims? What harassment? You haven't done anything illegal. Sharing publicly available information isn't a crime. Having conversations in public places isn't a crime. They're bluffing. And if they're not, then we countersue for fraud, breach of contract, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Trust me, Eli, they don't want this fight. But apparently they did. Tuesday afternoon, I was served with a restraining order. Sabrina was claiming I'd threatened her and Chase, harassed them online, and made her fear for her safety. The hearing was scheduled for Friday morning. I called Janet immediately. "This is desperation," she said after reviewing the paperwork. "They're trying to make you look like the bad guy to improve their negotiating position. Will it work? Not if we're prepared. Do you have records of all your online activity?" "Everything. Timestamps, IP addresses, the works." "Good. And witnesses for your conversation with Banner?" "The whole bar heard it." "Even better. They're about to learn why you don't pick fights with IT security specialists." Friday morning, I walked into Suffolk County Family Court feeling more confident than I had in weeks. I'd spent the previous 3 days preparing my defense with the same methodical precision I use for security audits. Sabrina was there with Brianna and David Chen, looking every inch the wronged spouse in a conservative dress and minimal makeup. She'd even managed to produce some tears for the judge. But tears don't trump evidence. When it was my turn to present my case, I methodically destroyed every claim in Sabrina's petition. Screenshots showing that all my social media activity was sharing Chase's own public posts. Security camera footage from Murphy's pub showing that my conversation with Chase was calm and non-threatening. Testimony from Rick Murphy and 3 other witnesses confirming that I never raised my voice or made physical contact. Most importantly, I presented the complete record of Sabrina's affair, including the planning messages with Brianna and the financial transactions showing she'd been funding Chase's lifestyle with marital assets. "Your Honor," I said in conclusion, "my wife is claiming harassment because I discovered her adultery and chose not to keep it secret. She's claiming fear because her boyfriend lost his job after his own social media posts revealed his unprofessional conduct. This restraining order isn't about protection. It's about preventing me from defending myself in our divorce proceedings." The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the evidence for several minutes before speaking. "Mr. Granger, while your methods were perhaps unorthodox, I find no evidence that you engaged in harassment or threatening behavior. Mrs. Granger, your petition is denied. Furthermore, I'm ordering both parties to mediation before any further court proceedings." Sabrina looked like she'd been slapped. Outside the courthouse, Brianna tried one last time to negotiate. "This doesn't have to get uglier," she said. "Sabrina is willing to accept a reduced settlement. The settlement terms haven't changed. Personal belongings only." "Be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. I could have had her arrested for fraud. I could have reported you to the Bar Association. I could have made Chase's client list public. Instead, I'm offering her a clean exit." "She'll never accept that. Then she'll get nothing." That evening, Sabrina called me directly. "Eli, please, can't we work something out?" "Sign the papers, Sabrina." "I can't survive on nothing. You need to have thought about that before you decided to cheat on me." "I'm sorry. I'm really, truly sorry. Can't that count for something?" "It counts for exactly what it's worth. Nothing. You're destroying my life." "No, I'm just not rebuilding it for you. There's a difference." She was quiet for a long moment. "What happened to you?" she asked finally. "You used to be kind." "I used to be naive. Thanks for the education. I hope you're happy." "I'm getting there." She hung up. The next morning, Janet called with the news I'd been waiting for. "She signed. It's over." "All of it?" "Everything. Divorce decree, property settlement, waiver of alimony. She even agreed to pay her own legal fees." I leaned back in my office chair and smiled. What changed her mind? Probably the realization that fighting would only make things worse for her. Or maybe Brianna finally explained the legal realities. Either way, it's done. It's done. Congratulations, Eli. You're a free man. Free. After months of lies and manipulation, months of being played for a fool, I was finally free. I hung up the phone and looked around my office. Through the window, I could see Boston Harbor in the distance, sunlight glinting off the water. It was a beautiful day. My phone buzzed with a text from Rick Murphy. "Heard the good news. Drinks are on the house tonight." I typed back, "Save me a spot at the bar." Then I opened my laptop and deleted the folder labeled Project Guest List. I wouldn't need it anymore. Sabrina was gone. Chase was gone. Brianna was professionally embarrassed and probably facing her own ethical review. I'd won. Not just the divorce, not just the house, not just the money. I'd won something more important than any of that. I'd won my self-respect back. For months, I'd been the fool who didn't know his wife was cheating. The nice guy who finished last. The pushover who got played. But I wasn't any of those things anymore. I was the guy who fought back. The guy who won. The guy who got the last laugh. I closed my laptop, grabbed my jacket, and headed for Murphy's pub. It was time to celebrate.